outside the John F. Kennedy Hospital in Monrovia, Liberia. 20-year-old Ibagasti Owuor is sick. All signs point to the late stages of Ebola, the deadly virus that's killed more than 2,300 across West Africa.
He just vomiting, he toiling, vomiting, he eat, he vomit.
While in West Africa, the biggest Ebola outbreak in history, already called out of control by aid groups in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, is only getting worse. Governments reacting with drastic new measures, soldiers on the streets, disinfectant sprayed in public places, and schools closed.
The fear of Ebola in affected countries and beyond is palpable. A man in Guinea suspected of having the gruesome disease was left lying in a city street for hours. Passers-by too scared to help, medical resources stretched thin.
Let them come and take him from here, because we are afraid.
More than 930 people have died in the outbreak. The military now helping combat the spread of Ebola in Sierra Leone. Liberian soldiers are clamping down on travelers. No one with a fever allowed in or out of the country. And in Spain, an infected priest evacuated from Liberia, now in isolation at a Madrid hospital.
The first case of Ebola in America dominates on TV, on radio,
government and health officials in Dallas are trying to reassure the public that
and online, like this post on Twitter. Everyone in Dallas better get to their nearest hospital and quick. I don't care if you feel fine. I want this thing contained.
Meanwhile, a second American victim arrived on U.S. soil on Tuesday.
The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak an international public health emergency that requires an extraordinary response to stop its spread. The announcement was made at a conference in Geneva, with more than 930 people now believed to have died in the outbreak.
This is the largest, most severe, and most complex outbreak in the nearly 4-decade history of this disease. I am declaring the current outbreak of Ebola virus disease a public health emergency of international concern.
When the Lord on July 29,
cuando el Señor el 29 de julio,
when I was in South Africa, Johannesburg,
cuando yo estaba en Sudáfrica, en Johannesburgo,
when he came to speak with me again,
cuando él vino a hablar conmigo otra vez,
about the coming of the Messiah,
acerca de la venida del Mesías,
then he showed me the breaking of the fourth seal.
Entonces me mostró el rompimiento del cuarto sello.
Listen to this.
Escucha esto.
And I saw the rider of the pale horse coming.
Y yo vi el jinete del caballo amarillo.
And then came towards me.
Y entonces vino hacia mí,
very close,
muy cerca.
There is something he wanted to show me.
Hay algo que él quería mostrarme.
When he reached very near,
cuando él llegó muy cerca de mí,
I realized he was very, very mighty. The name is white and glorious.
Pero el pelo es blanco y glorioso.
When he was sure I am watching him,
cuando estaba seguro que yo lo estaba observando,
he did this.
Él hizo así.
He stretched out the white hair like this.
Él se extendió el pelo blanco así.
And then he brought it back.
Y entonces lo volvió a colocar.
And then I saw him running on another earth. I have seen the release of the purpose.
I saw the coming of the pale horse with his rider. The pale horse with his rider.
제가요 그 비전에서 뭘 봤냐면 이제 계시록에 보면 네 말 중에 네 번째 나오는 말이 청황색 말이에요. 청황색이라고 하는 것은 시체색을 말해요. 시체색.
He came very close to me.
그 말이 저희 아주 가까이 왔습니다.
He has white mane hair that begins from here and ends here. White glorious mane. The name is mane hair. Long hair from here to here. When he arrived near me,
그 말이 가까이 왔을 때,
he stretched his mane like this, and then he stretched it back on himself. After that, I saw him living with the rider, and he went around heaven, then he went to the earth, and I saw him running around the whole earth.
God of Israel. He has spoken about distress that is coming. And the Lord has spoken about a very severe disease that is going to visit the world. There are diseases, incurable diseases that are coming to the earth. There are diseases, I see diseases coming to the earth. I see a severe form of skin disease. It looks more like leprosy coming to the earth. It's very, very scary because that disease is very infectious. The Lord already put me in that day. I already saw people running, grappling with that disease. Anyone touching that disease, gripping your hand, you are infected, and it grows like leprosy over your body, over anyone's body, over the bodies of the people of the earth that are infected. It was the most disturbing dream. I was very disturbed when I woke up because it looks very bad. It's very unsightly when I saw it. Again, I see a severe form of skin infection. I don't know whether it's a disease inside the body that manifests in the skin, but it looks more like a skin infection because I saw the manifestation on the skin. And over all the thigh, growths like leprosy all over the body. And whosoever, when they scratch, it bleeds. And as it bleeds, then pussy flesh forms, begins to mold up on the back, then the backs of people, their legs. An infectious disease is coming to the earth, and it looks more like leprosy. It's a skin disease, and I see it grow on the bodies of people, those who are infected. And it is very infectious because whoever touches the door of a car with it, I saw people touching the doors of cars and they're getting infected, greeting by hand, they were infected. It was very, very infectious in this mighty conversation. So this disease is going to be extremely infectious and it's going to be most disturbing. It's very unsightly to look at. When the skin is infected, it's very unsightly, just like leprosy is, a little worse than leprosy, because the growth protrude up. It's like they're growing over the body. It is absolutely a crazy sight to look at. It's very disturbing. Well, upon the release of the fourth horseman, the Bible says in the book of Revelation chapter 6 that one of the tools that would be in play, the instruments that would be in play at this time would be diseases. And these are the events that wind down, they count down towards the coming of the Messiah. Now you can see that diseases, very strange diseases, some of them are usual same diseases that have been known before, are coming back in the most incurable forms, most disturbing, unsightly forms.
It is scary because that thing spreads like nothing, like wildfire.
A deadly virus with a mortality rate of up to 90%. Ebola has killed nearly 1,000 people in West Africa, and the infection rate continues to increase.
The World Health Organization says the death toll from an outbreak of Ebola in West Africa has now risen to at least 3,000 out of more than 6,000 probable, suspected and confirmed cases. The latest data shows Liberia has recorded 1,800 deaths. That's around 3 times as many as the other 2 most affected countries, Guinea and Sierra Leone.
The Lord has spoken about distress that is coming, and the Lord has spoken about a very severe disease that is going to visit the earth. There are diseases, incurable diseases that are coming to the earth. It's very, very scary because that disease is very infectious. The Lord already put me in that day. I already saw people running, grappling with that disease. Anyone touching that disease, gripping your hand, you are infected. An infectious disease is coming to the earth, and it is very infectious because whoever touches the door of a car with it, I saw people touching the doors of cars and they're getting infected, gripping by hand, they were infected. It was very, very infectious in this mighty conversation.
To greet, no shaking hands. This woman says she's following government advice by touching elbows instead, but more must be done.
I wish something would be done so fast so that many people don't get affected with it.
When a disease is this contagious, even cautious medical professionals are at serious risk. The virus spreads through contact with bodily fluids and is fatal in up to 90% of cases. In Nigeria, all points of entry, air, sea and land, have been placed on red alert, trying to halt the further spread of one of the world's most virulent diseases, which has no vaccine and no cure.
I see a severe form of skin disease. It looks more like leprosy coming to the earth. It's very, very scary, and it grows like leprosy over the bodies of the people of the earth that are infected. It looks more like a skin infection because I saw the manifestation on the skin. And over all the thigh, growths like leprosy all over the body. And whosoever, when they scratch, it bleeds. And as it bleeds, then pussy flesh forms, begins to mold up on the back. Then the backs of people, their legs. When the skin is infected, it's very unsightly, just like leprosy is, a little worse than leprosy, because the growths protrude up like they're growing over the body. It is absolutely a crazy sight to look at. It's very disturbing. An infectious disease is coming to the earth, a severe form of skin disease. It looks more like leprosy coming to the earth. It's very, very scary, and it grows like leprosy over the bodies of the people of the earth that are infected. Growths like leprosy all over the body. And whosoever, when they scratch, it bleeds. And as it bleeds, then pussy forms, passive flesh forms, begins to build up, to mold up on the back, then the backs of people, their legs.
Precis vad vi är just nu angående Herrens återkomst.
This is now very sensitive.
Det här är väldigt känsligt.
Listen to this.
Lyssna nu.
When I was sleeping in South Africa on the floor of the airport,
när jag såg på flygplatsen i Sydafrika,
I saw the pale horse coming.
Så såg jag den blekhula hästen komma.
And I saw the rider, he is called Death.
Och jag såg ryttaren som kallas Död.
His eyes are almost a little deeper and as if blood is flowing through his eyes like this.
Och hans ögon sitter djupt in och det är blod som rinner ner från dem.
And the one born here, born as if some dead person from the tomb.
Och det ser ut som en död person i varje fall.
His name is called Death.
Och hans namn är
can cause gruesome internal and external hemorrhaging. The victims slowly bleed to death. There is no vaccine, no cure.
Now the Lord spoke with me. He has spoken with me. And He has spoken with me about how there's going to be an increased escalation of the current birth pains, beginnings of birth pains that we see across the globe. And in that conversation, the Lord took me to an airport, and in that airport I was waiting for a flight in the dream. And then when I entered the plane, then in that plane there was contamination of the Ebola virus. And then I remember I was running in the dream trying to wash my hands, to find soap, disinfectant and everything. So the Lord is saying that the current distress with the Ebola and disease and other more diseases will show up, by the way, is going to increase, because these are the signs that the Lord spoke about. And remember, the pale horseman is pale. He is deathly looking, and he also comes with disease.
Providing the information that an individual traveling from Liberia has been diagnosed with Ebola in the United States.
The Federal Centers for Disease Control has confirmed that a patient admitted to this hospital has tested positive for Ebola virus.
The passenger left Africa on September 19th and arrived in Dallas on the 20th. The CDC says they alerted the airline.
The World Health Organization has urged a screening of all people at international airports, seaports, and major land crossings in an effort to stop the spread of Ebola. Authorities are asking officials to stop anyone with signs of the virus from traveling.
Our in-depth coverage on the Ebola outbreak continues now. The rapid spread of the virus in West Africa and its isolated presence in the United States is prompting some people to call for a travel ban.
Air travel is obviously the fastest way for this virus to spread.
We've made sure that every single traveler who leaves that country is tested to see if they have a fever before they get on the plane. If they have a fever, they don't get on the plane.
There are diseases, I see diseases coming to the earth. It's very, very scary because that disease is very infectious. The Lord already put me in that day. I already saw people running, grappling with that disease.
group will raise as much as $200 million to support Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone in their efforts to battle the Ebola epidemic that has broken out in those three countries.